This story that we just encountered or read a moment ago is a message reminding us that when we are in the midst of a storm in our journey, we are to remember that even though we may be panicking, God is not. Something for us to chew on is the verbal tone that we think Jesus responded to the disciples with. We can hold that up to the verbal tone that we think the disciples were talking to Jesus with. Think about that for just a moment. You see, I imagine the disciples' voices sounded quite a bit different than Jesus's. The disciples were threatened and they were terrified. Do you know what I sound like when I'm threatened and terrified? Think about what you sound like when you might have a sense of fear come upon you. You know, it takes me a lot to get there, I'll admit that, but when I get there, it sounds panicked. My voice can rise to the noise level of all that is around me, and that can be loud, and it can be very intense. Anybody else? Jesus, on the other hand, who the story shows no sense of panic, probably sounded calm and peaceful. The disciples said, "Jesus, do something! Teacher, do you not care that we're perishing?" And Jesus responds, "Peace, be still." And what Jesus said next is also amazing. You see, not only did Jesus not match the level of panic and fear, Jesus embodies a genuine calm when he asks next, "Why are you afraid? Have you still no faith?" Jesus wasn't trying to show up the disciples in that moment or make the disciples feel stupid for feeling a sense of fear or terror. What he was saying was, he's saying, "I'm with you. I'm right here. And as long as I am with you, there is no reason for you to be afraid." And there's a message for us in how Jesus said what he said and in what Jesus said. You see, how Jesus said what he said teaches us that having a yelling match back and forth does not calm a situation. What does it do? It escalates it, right? And yet, in our human tendency, we still try to talk louder and louder, thinking that the other will hear our point more clearly. How's that working for us? I don't know that it's ever worked. But instead, we are told to be still. Scripture tells us, "Be still and know that I am God." That's a reference coming from Psalm 46. It's a psalm declaring God as our refuge and strength. And I want to invite us to try that sometime. When the waves are crashing in around us, when trouble, when problems, when circumstances are challenging, when lots of things are coming in all around you, try it sometime. Stop. Take a couple deep breaths and say to yourself, "Be still. Be still and know that I am God."